So I have been, I've been doing this thing lately just for my own entertainment that I call iPad baby time, which is where I put on a video essay about America's Next Top Model Cycle 6. This is a very good video essay series. And then I also play Mario Kart on my Switch while that's going. And I just have all this stimulation happening simultaneously. That's my iPad baby time. I watched so many video essays about America's Next Top Model Cycle 6 that I had a dream that Tyra Banks emailed me. I was getting a virtual Tyra mail on the astral plane. And so then I was reading the comments on one of these videos and I saw someone reference Model Land, which from the context of their comment made it seem like it was a book that Tyra wrote. And I thought, okay, this is a fascinating person. She's had a really interesting life. This sounds like maybe a memoir that she would have written. I would love to read a book written by Tyra Banks. And so I go to find Model Land.
Mm-hmm.
It was written in 2011 by Tyra Banks, and it is a YA dystopia. I don't think that Tyra would describe it as a horror novel, but it very much is. I could not even begin to scratch the surface of what the fuck happens in this book. I've been live posting about it in book club. You have this sort of industrial dystopian society where everyone works in different factories and everyone's destiny is about factories, but also the world is obsessed with models. And there's this like day of choosing when all of the eligible maidens in the land can be chosen to ascend to the sacred mountain where all of the models live, and they get to live in the elite class of hot people to become godlike because they all have different superpowers. But also there are these beings in the model land. One of them has a man's body, but his head is a hand. And there's another one who's like an alligator person. And all of the people have names like D&D NPCs, and people are dodging fireballs and walking upside down in stilettos. It is absolutely bonkers. And the thing is, it's not bad. You would think that it would be bad, but it is actually quite good. The prose is good. The voice is very interesting and distinctive. The pacing is good. The world is bizarre, but it is consistent. Like, there are a lot of very valid criticisms to be made of Tyra Banks, and this book is extremely problematic. I am not recommending that people read it, but you can't say that she's not a smart woman. But also, like, why, whenever I think of celebrity books, I think of, memoirs that are obviously ghostwritten. But I have to believe Tyra wrote this herself, because why else would a famous model write a YA book if not being very passionate about it? It's mysteries upon mysteries. House of Leaves has fucking nothing on Model Land by Tyra Banks. And I've read House of Leaves, so I can say that. This book, I will go on record officially and say that 2011 YA novel, Model Land by Tyra Banks, is more complex and says more about the human condition than Mark Z. Danlewski's House of Leaves. And I'm only 25% of the way through this book. I actually am really passionate about this take now. And later I'll write a blog post or something. I'll make a blog so I can I'll post on the fandomapprentice.tumblr.com why I think Model Land says more about the human condition than House of Leaves. Okay.
Strictly speaking, our Tumblr is fanappod.tumblr.com.
I got so passionate about my hot take that I forgot our Tumblr URL. Yes, it's fanappod.tumblr.com. Anyway, Tyra is simultaneously our every girl self-insert character, but also there's like one model who's the hottest, best, greatest, most beautiful. She has all of the superpowers combined, actually. And her name is spelled C-I, I believe it's a tilde is like the squiggly symbol.
Tilde, yeah.
Tilde L. Pronounced CL. And so she is also obviously heavily basing this character on herself.
Of course.
It is fascinating. I don't know where to begin. But yeah, that's just sort of where my headspace is at currently as we enter into 2026. This is the groundwork we're laying. I talked about that for a long time.
You have such a tolerance for the weirdest books, and I appreciate that so much because I can't.
I'm glad that you enjoy the play-by-play. This is
Oh, I do.
going to
I need
surpass
to go
Fantasy
back.
Lover, frankly. Fantasy Lover is going to be
Ooh.
dethroned by Model Land, I can tell.
Oh no.
And again, I cannot stress enough that I am barely skimming the surface. This book is so fucking complicated and weird, but one other person in book club is going down this problematic rabbit hole with me. So at least I won't be alone on my journey.
I have to go back and read your play-by-play. I haven't. I've been a little focused on some other shit.
So you've been doing things slightly more important than reading Model Land by Tyra Banks.
No. I've been doing things with. I've had different priorities. They are not more or less important than Model Land by Tyra Banks. They're just different directions on the great wheel of the earth and the wheel of adventure times. Speaking of adventures, globe-trotting adventures, I got to go visit my parents for Christmas and New Year's. And as I mentioned on this podcast, they live in an undisclosed European country, of which I hold dual citizenship. And as part of our time, we spent most of it in the city they live in. We took a local train out to another sort of smaller city nearby, saw some very, very old, like 6th century buildings, which was very fun. 6th century artwork. And then we took a high-speed train, which was much shorter than I was expecting it to be, to Venice for a couple of days. So I spent a couple of days in Venice, which was great.
So fancy.
It's very fancy. I've been there a couple of times. I've been there in the summer with my family. We calculated it was 13 years ago. And then I've been there with my college choir back in 2017. So, fuck, almost 10 years ago.
Yikes.
And, that was in March. So I think this was definitely closer in population to the March kind of thing. It was very foggy, which gave it... I've been playing a lot of Blades in the Dark, and as mentioned a couple of episodes back, I read The Lies of Locke Lamora recently. The Lies of Locke Lamora takes place in basically a fantasy Venice, like a fantasy Venetian Republic sort of thing. And so wandering around these streets that, like, if you take away a little bit of the graffiti, nothing's changed since about 1583.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all foggy, and it's just the gondoliers out on the canal. Like, I have so many ideas for either D&D or Blades in the Dark games. It's great. But it was really lovely to sort of wander around Venice when obviously it's constantly mobbed by tourists, and Venetian residents have a love-hate relationship with tourists, which makes total sense. But it was a lot less tourists than are there in, like, the summertime. So, you could actually make your way down various streets without fighting the whole time, which was kind of nice. But we went over and we took a gondola ride. My parents went there on a little, like, long weekend a couple of months ago, and they found, through recommendation of a friend, this one gondolier who takes people around some of the back canals in the northern part of the city.
Ooh.
And she's one of 14 practicing female gondoliers in the city of Venice, which is wild. Apparently there's, like, a long process to become qualified. There's a slightly different process if you come from a family of gondoliers. And so there's a lot of qualified female gondoliers in the city, but not many that are, like, actually practicing, apparently. But as we're heading to her gondola, we're passing over, like, a really little bridge. And my dad looks back at this guy that passes us and is like, is that who I thought it was? And I was like, there's maybe, like, from the profile, he told me who he thought it was. And from the profile, I was like, well, maybe. And then we're out in our gondola on one of the canals, and this water taxi goes by. And I look. It's the same dude sitting there in the water taxi. It is Sir Ian fucking McKellen.
Oh my god.
As in Gandalf.
His very own self.
His very own goddamn self. And I, like, obviously, when we thought it was him on the bridge, we weren't going to, like, call out to him. He clearly was, like, going somewhere. But, like...
He was going to his water taxi, apparently.
He was going to his water taxi, apparently, to go somewhere else. And there were a bunch of other people in the water taxi, clearly, like, whoever he was traveling with. He had been walking on his own, so I guess he met up with other people and were going somewhere else. But I called out to him, was like, Sir Ian! And I waved. And he, like, looked. He was like, who the fuck just recognized me? And he looks and sees us all in the gondola, and we all waved, and he waved back. Which is just
highlight of your life.
Oh, and he goes by, and the gondolier is like, who's that? Hello, everyone. Almost forgot to do the hello, everyone.
How could you forget the hello, everyone?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of The Fandom Apprentice.
Let's go.
I'm one of your hosts. My name is Rin. I grew up with Star Wars and various other sci-fis and fantasies, and on discovering that my best friend had not, decided to record me emotionally damaging her.
Whee! Hello, I'm Sam. I'm the other one. I'm gonna be emotionally damaged. These first couple episodes of The Mandalorian are kind of weirdly heartwarming. I'm not emotionally damaged yet, but we'll get there. Well, I'm not emotionally damaged by Star Wars yet. I guess I should specify.
Don't worry, it'll happen.
I think I did mention this last time in our intro episode, which if you're curious about our Star Wars backgrounds, you can go back and listen to that. But I have seen The Mandalorian before, at least the first season, maybe the second, but it came out during a little thing called lockdown, which means I have forgotten all of it. And this might as well be the first time.
Interestingly enough, it didn't actually come out during lockdown.
No? Was it later? Or was it earlier? I don't fucking know.
First episode came out November 12th, 2019, and concluded December 27th, 2019.
Damn. Yeah, I guess I just didn't watch it until I had nothing else to do because I didn't like Star Wars.
Right,
so it wasn't exactly at the top of my list.
You were like, I distinctly remember you saying something about being like, well, Baby Yoda's cute and I'm bored.
I forget that I said that, so I take your word for it. And he is even cuter than I remembered. God, he's so cute.
/ I might have been like, you might have been like, I'm bored, what do I watch? And I might have been like, The Mandalorian. And you were like, I haven't watched Star Wars. And I was like, but Baby Yoda.
He is very, very cute.
We'll talk a lot more about this in upcoming episodes. But the reason we're starting with The Mandalorian is because The Mandalorian is sort of the opening of the current era of Star Wars. So you can sort of divide Star Wars into the original trilogy era, the prequel trilogy era, the Clone Wars era, sequel trilogy, and then now the sort of Disney Plus era.
Eat your heart out, Taylor Swift. We got eras too.
Prior to this, we hadn't had live action Star Wars television. So this was incredibly exciting for longtime Star Wars fans. Especially because for a lot of folks were kind of disappointed by the sequel trilogy for various reasons. Some people were disappointed for really sexist racist reasons, and other people were disappointed because there wasn't really a coherent story. So this was very, very exciting to come into a new show. This was sort of the launch of Disney Plus and Disney's whole streaming service, which was less exciting, but I was willing to put up with it for more Star Wars. But because this is the sort of start of an era, and because it came out sort of right prior to the entire world shutting down, this was a lot of people's introduction to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So over the next few episodes of the podcast, I'm really interested to hear about, sort of as we're going through this, what you're thinking of the overall story, the visual choices, knowing nothing about the rest of the Star Wars. Because there's a lot of little pieces peppered in here for like longtime hardcore Star Wars fans.
I did find a few, and I did write them down when I noticed them. Like there's a point in the first episode where the fish man says something about, oh, I was hoping to be home for Life Day. And I went, aha, Life Day. That's one. I know that one. Don't really know what it is, but I know that that's a thing. So I did try to pick out when I noticed, okay, this is clearly something that fans will get, because I can read context clues and I know when something is being set up as sort of an in-joke, a reference. But I'm sure there are many things that went over my head. I mean, I called them robots, and then you had to correct me and tell me that they're droids. So, my knowledge is a kind of scattershot. But with that in mind, should we go right into the first episode, or did we have more preface-y type thing?
No, I think we can start it off. Episode 1, The Mandalorian.
Hell yeah. So the way that I approached my notes was less summarizing the plot, because the plots of these episodes are really tight. The storytelling is really good. It's really efficient. I honestly don't think that it needs me to summarize it. I focus more on just like my impressions and the things that I was noticing. But the first episode is a lot of exposition introducing us to our hero, that he's a bounty hunter. He's looking for some interesting new target, and we see him hauling a fish man around and killing him, basically. But the very...
He doesn't kill the fish dude. The fish dude is alive.
Oh, he's alive in there? Oh my god! That's worse!
Frozen in carbonite. That's a whole other...
Oh god, I always assumed that meant they were dead anyway.
No.
So we start off strong with one of the rules of fantasy, which is if there's a tavern, there will be plot, because we open in whatever the Star Wars equivalent of a tavern is. So that's fun.
A cantina, typically.
A cantina. There's a fish man. We meet our hero, who I know that we refer to him as Mando as a cutesy nickname. So I referred to him as that, even though we technically don't see anyone refer to him as Mando until later. Whatever.
Someone refers to him as Mando within the first 30 seconds.
Oh, okay, then I missed that. I was just
the red dude yells at him and he says, "I'm talking to you, Mando."
Oh, okay. Well, so there we go. Yeah. So he's Mando. He's very much strong and silent type. He doesn't say anything until after the first fight scene is concluded. And he's like, I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold, because he's a badass and he's awesome.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
He doesn't like droids, I guess, which by the end of episode 3, I think maybe I understand why. But I did spend the first couple of episodes going, what has this guy got against droids? They're so charming, but whatever. Overall, just the setting, I'm very charmed by the shabbiness of it. That it's just kind of dirty in like a fun way. It seems very much like somebody's high school theater department got given a bunch of money and got to get their wildest dreams come true. And maybe somebody's high school theater department won a sweepstakes where they got to do a week-long workshop with Jim Henson and like a grant to make whatever puppets they wanted. And then that is what you got with Star Wars. And I do know that the Jim Henson Company has some ties to Star Wars, because I know lots of things about the Muppets, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But it's just sort of charming and delightful. And there's all of these really cute, weird little droids. The thing that sticks its arm out after Mando does the secret knock on the door that looks looks like some kind of lightly spray painted children's toy. It's so stupid and I love it. Oh my god. And I didn't even mention the alien guy who plays a flute to summon the speeder. He's delightful. They're delightful. I don't know the gender of this alien thing, but it's just all delightful. I'm charmed. And I'm sure eventually there will be settings where things are more like shiny and smooth, But this is not a shiny world, and I like it. I like it a lot.
If you had to take this and assign a genre to what you're watching, other than science fiction, what would you say it is?
Western.
It's a Western.
Yeah.
This is without a doubt, like, yeah, it's a Western with a round door on the saloon.
Mm-hmm.
The gunslinger walks in. Because that's what he is. He's a extrajudicial gunslinger.
And even Carbonite aside, now that I know they're still alive in there, he does kill a lot of people.
Oh, he shoots so many people.
I'm sure someone has tallied this man's body count. It is high. I'm choosing not to worry about it.
Well, and here's the thing is he approaches all of this in the most nonchalant way because this is just a job. Like, he's just out here doing a job.
I think I might have a note somewhere, or it might have just been something I thought, that he can convey so many micro expressions with an immovable mask. There's so much. There's feeling being conveyed between the faceless, masked, shooty person and hostile fauna emerging from the ground. This is just like home. Murderbot really set us up well for this experience.
Truly. Yeah, the hostile fauna coming out and particularly attacking the boarding ramp on the little ship.
So good.
And when we say hostile fauna, we mean somewhere between a giant walrus and a crocodile.
Which has to be incredibly strong because it's grabbing onto the ship. But that is like the least important part of this episode. So Mando goes,
through ice.
He finds some fish man who he needs to take for some reason. He's like bail dodging or something. And it is a delightful contrast that this guy will not shut the fuck up. So you have stoic, silent Mando and this fish person who is just trying to make small talk about Life Day. And
poop jokes.
And poop jokes, yeah, because he's trying to be sneaky. And I'm just being charmed and delighted. And then my note is, bruh, why does he have so many bodies in his truck? Because I thought the Carbonite people were dead. And that was a little bit of a tone shift. But he gets the fish man and brings him back to, I don't know, his manager who gives him his jobs. And then things get kind of weird because I'm like, why is this guy, quest giver, trying to pay him in weird defunct currency? Because I wouldn't, given what I've seen of his combat abilities, I wouldn't try to shortchange Mando. Especially after the job is done. That seems very stupid. And then apparently we learned that clients don't want to pay guild rates, which, yeah, makes sense. It's a gig economy. There's lots of charming little droids. But then there's stormtroopers. And I might not know much, but I know that there's this whole conversation at the middle of the first third of the episode where Mando's manager guy is saying that the Empire is gone, the Empire doesn't exist anymore, and I may not know much, but I know that stormtroopers are the Empire guys. So why are there still stormtroopers? I don't know.
Because,
yeah,
listen, Nazi Germany doesn't exist anymore, but there's still sure as shit Nazis.
Oh, God. Are they space Nazis? Is that?
Oh, they are. The Empire is 100% space Nazis.
Yay.
Like, that is, when we watch the original trilogy, that is the aesthetic that they're pulling from pretty much constantly. That's why they're called stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Because also, keeping in mind, this was the original, the first Star Wars movie released in 1977. So less than 30 years after the end of the war. So so when we're thinking about the way that Star Wars has evolved over the last 49 years, that's something to keep in mind, is the original time period and context that it was built in. Because we're still getting, like, that little droid that you said looked like a cardboard cutout thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is from the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get these, where a science fiction thing today would probably be a lot sleeker or would look different if they're going for sort of the grungy cyberpunk vibe. the aesthetics of Star Wars were already established 50 years ago.
Mhm.
And so anybody telling a Star Wars story has to use those aesthetics, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I love all of the aesthetics, and that all makes perfect sense. And speaking of the Empire, I have in my notes, who is this German guy? Is this Werner Herzog? It is. I'm like, wow, this guy really sounds like Werner Herzog, because that's who it is.
Because it's Werner Herzog.
Fuck yeah.
Because this will be a continuous piece here. People want to be in Star Wars.
Mhm.
And so you will get big ass names for bit parts. Like this dude who doesn't have a name. He is the client.
Yeah.
And that is Werner Herzog, who is he has had a career in film since 1961.
And like, I don't even know anything about him. The only reason that I recognized him was from a TikTok series years ago called Werner Herzog's Sad Beige Toys for Sad Beige Children. And so from somebody doing a comedy bit impersonating him, I'm like, oh my God, it's this famous man. But we're losing the plot. So yes.
But speaking of really big names for bit parts, the manager, that's Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers is Carl Weathers was a former football player for the Oakland Raiders for one season. He also was in the Canadian Football League for 3 seasons after that. And then he played Apollo Creed in the first 4 Rocky films.
Damn. Okay.
These are big fucking names. And you get these people for bit parts.
Mm-hmm. Damn, that's power.
And we'll get more of this later in the season. There's a couple of names just, obviously that I know since I've watched this a couple of times already, but just like, you look at the cast list and go, holy shit, she's here?
Mm-hmm. So continuing on with Werner Herzog and what he wants. We're introduced to this material, Beskar steel. It seems very important to the Mandalorian culture.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the process of finding people for these bounty hunters to get, we are not following that process right now. This is a very off the books, sketchy kind of situation. And I super respect that the client is trying to do this like big monologue and Mando doesn't care. He just gets up and leaves while he's talking. He's just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Can I skip this cutscene? And we just leave. Then we get this incredibly sinister music as he's walking through this like pretty normal market, and then he goes down into a tunnel and it's clearly other Mandalorians down there. There's little kids in helmets, which is cute. There's a blacksmith with the sickest forge ever. We see a reference to the Great Purge, which seems bad. That's where all of this Beskar was taken from. There's a really cool forging sequence with the metal and the ladies like making him a new pauldron, and that's awesome. There's a tragic backstory that Mando used to be a foundling, and the excess of his Beskar it's so valuable that it can sponsor many foundlings, which is great. And then the sort of point that I will pause for more commentary on is there's so many, and this connects back to what you were saying about this sort of established aesthetic. There's a lot of very vintage feeling transitions from scene to scene, these sort of screen wipes out from the center or zooming into an oval or spinning in a windmill shape that feels very cheesy and super fun, and it's clearly this very old-fashioned aesthetic. I'm gonna need to learn cinematography words so I know what they are, but I notice it and it's fun.
Yeah, now that we're finally doing like visual media almost exclusively for the next however long this podcast continues on for, did you take any film classes? I won't say neither of us did. I didn't take any film classes. Along with the fact that neither of us took any college English classes. So we've been flying by the fucking seat of our pants for 2 seasons now.
Listen, it's working.
Somehow, apparently. I guess continue on and I'll jump in a little bit.
Sure. So Mando flies to wherever it is that the target is, and he meets this guy who's sort of a guide to this area. And he ends conversations by saying, "I have spoken," which is how I would like to end every conversation now, because that's really powerful. It's like, I'm done. I've spoken. It's over. There's a bounty droid that he has to forge an unlikely partnership with that is really funny. There's big fight scenes, jumping on this floating gun and killing a bunch more people to get to the baby. He reaches the baby, who I don't think we see fully in this part. I think we might just see like the profile. I don't remember. Or if we like look down into
we
the
see a
pod
little
and we
bit,
see his
yeah.
face. But we get this sort of wide shot where it's the two of them in profile, and the baby reaches out his little fingy to Mando's little fingy. And I hope that all of this is just like a human experience that everyone should have. I hope every listener has had the experience of a little baby reaching out their little hand to grab one of your fingers with their tiny fingers. It's the fucking greatest. I was sold. This baby is so cute. I feel like in still images, he's not as cute. But when you see him in action and his little noises and his little hands, oh, it's really cute.
And
then
that is
that
a
ends the
fully
episode.
practical effect.
I love it. I love it.
That is a fully practical effect. I had a couple thoughts from the first episode. One of the things that gets brought up at one point, Werner Herzog says that Mando is the best in the parsec. A parsec is a unit of distance.
Mm-hmm.
This is another fucking Star Wars thing. Going all the way back to the first movie. Because apparently the Millennium Falcon made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Uh-huh. They had to make a whole separate plot line in the Han Solo movie to explain that fucking single one-off line from the original trilogy. And so now multiple times in just these first 3 episodes, we have something described as like the best in the parsec, or, you know, something in the parsec. It's like saying, you know, like he's the best in the mile. Like,
doesn't really make sense, but okay.
No, like people might say something like that, but not really. Werner Herzog is playing a space Nazi very well. The line that really got me was,
"The Beskar belongs back into the hands of a Mandalorian. It is good to restore the natural order of things after a period of such disarray. Don't you agree?"
That's some Nazi shit. Anytime anybody says something quote unquote natural order, nah, fuck that shit.
No.
Then there's a line at one point, the bounty droid says that they're required to produce said asset. What said asset? Prior to that line, you didn't say shit about the asset.
Sounds like the asset wasn't said after all.
No, it wasn't. I'm really interested to know what the full Bondsman Guild protocol waiver is. I am also... The other piece that I noticed was there's like a cracked oil painting effect over... as the credits roll at the end, there's like concept art paintings. Concept art drawings, and there's like a cracked oil painting effect over that.
Yeah.
There were a couple of other sort of larger Star Wars pieces, and then a few other things that, like, when we were seeing this, we as Star Wars fans were in the same position as people who are just coming to this new. We didn't know fucking shit about the Great Purge. That's new. The last, like, we had seen in Star Wars media of the Mandalorians was, I want to say, season 5 of the Clone Wars. Season 7 of the Clone Wars, which revealed what happened at the end of the Clone Wars to the Mandalorians, didn't come out until 2020, until April of 2020. So we didn't know shit.
Yeah.
We don't know why the Mandalorians have gone from this proud warrior people to hiding in fucking tunnels. We have no idea how that happened. The foundling thing is from Star Wars Legends. Beskar is also from Star Wars Legends. There are 2 Star Wars continuities. One is Star Wars Legends and one is canon. Star Wars Legends is like the continuity that comes from like after the original trilogy, and then again after the prequel trilogy. People wrote a bunch of books and comic books. Some were associated with Lucasfilm, some weren't associated with Lucasfilm. George Lucas has basically said he doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. Like, he doesn't consider any of that canon. The only thing that's canon are the movies.
Mhm.
And so when Disney took over, there was a whole frequently contradictory bunch of comic books, video games, books, audio dramas. And so Disney went, yeah, cool. That's Legends now.
Mhm.
And so there are pieces from the Legends continuity that, like, longtime Star Wars fans who are now, of course, making Star Wars stories, like, everybody who is involved with this project is a longtime Star Wars fan.
Mhm.
You know, and that ranges from people who worked on the original Star Wars movies. Some of the people on the effects team at ILM have been there since 1977.
Damn.
And some of the people have joined over the years and worked on, like, the prequels. And some of the people were kids in 1977 when the first Star Wars movie came out. And so they grew up with Star Wars. And now they're Star Wars fans, and now they're in charge of making the Star Wars stories. And so they've been reading these books, and they went, well, I have an opportunity to bring this thing that I think is really cool and really interesting into actual canon now.
Mhm.
And so we're going to get a lot of that.
I think that's fun. I love that.
I was watching one of the, like, interview about the making of episodes, and one of the directors, I think it was Rick Famuyiwa, he was saying that when he was growing up, he was always enamored with the idea of the fact that Star Wars is a galaxy. And he always had sort of the mindset of, like, the little games that he's playing with his action figures or with his friends could feasibly be happening somewhere in that galaxy.
Mhm.
And now he gets to make a story somewhere in that galaxy for everybody else to see.
That's amazing. I love that.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, do we want to talk a little bit, see if we can breeze through some of these other episodes that we wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, we got 2 more. We can do it. So, episode 2, The Child. We are taking the baby for a walk in his little stroller pod. Mando senses an approaching attack and beats the shit out of some guys while the baby just kind of watches happily, which is cute. They make camp. The baby seems sad that Mando is hurt and, like, toddles up to him adorably multiple times, keeps escaping from his little pod. And because I have seen this series before and I know that the baby can use the Force, and he's, like, reaching out his little paw hand thing to his cut, I'm wondering, like, does he have healing powers? Is he trying to get close so he can heal him with magic? Or is he just being cute and wanting to give him a little pat? I don't know. He gurgles like a baby. So fucking cute. He wants uppies. Mando says no and puts him back in the pod and, like, closes it. But you can see his heart is softening, and I love it. And then they get back from that thing that they're doing, and a bunch of raiders are taking Mando's shit. They're peeling parts off of his ship, which is not good. There's
Jawas.
Yeah, Jawas. They're little glowy eye guys in robes that he just poofs into dust, and I just think of them as, like, level 1 rats in D&D. You just, like, annihilate. Like, if you're, you know, I don't know what equivalent level of a D&D character Mando would be. We can think of this, but, you know, a high level D&D character just taking out a bunch of rats all at once, just like poof, poof, poof. I do want to know who's playing the Jawas. Are they, like, short adults? Are they kids? Who is in these costumes? Because it's probably really fun. I would love to be a Jawa, but I'm too tall.
Let's see if I can find that out quickly for you. Jawas also date back to the very, very first Star Wars.
That doesn't surprise me.
No. These are constant. One of the things I love about Westerns and about Star Wars as well is it meshes the serious and the hilarious very, very well.
I have a note
Like,
somewhere in here that's, how seriously am I supposed to be taking this?
Right. It's, you know, you can take it incredibly seriously. Nothing about it is like slapstick comedy. They're not coming up to you and going, this is a joke. You know, this is not SNL. This is not, you know, the Three Stooges. But they are still doing things that are definitely meant to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sort of pivoting off that to something slightly later in the episode. The Jawas want to trade his ship parts back for some egg that they want, and they're chanting for like the egg in their little Jawa language. And goddamn if that isn't the exact fucking same as Minions. They might as well be saying banana because it's the same. They're cute little guys with weird eyeballs, and they chant about some food item that they want. And I don't like Minions, but if this is an equivalent experience, if I feel about Jawas the way that moms feel about Minions, I get it. Because it is very funny.
More accurately, Minions are like Jawas.
So true.
Our listeners can't see the finger guns that I'm making at Sam right now.
I mean, we're both bi. You can assume finger guns during any point.
We're unhinged here, guys. The Mando's gun, the disintegration thing, is not common in Star Wars. That was also a when the fuck did that show up?
Yeah.
The gun also dates back to the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Is
the
that
shape of
Life
that gun
Day?
has not. That's Life Day. That's where Life Day comes from. The may or may not actually be canon Star Wars Holiday Special.
And, it is reducing the amount of life overall. So, strange choice, but all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if you can't find who played the Jawas.
The Jawas, I found one name, Leilani Shiu. She's apparently played a number of Jawas, and another, a Chadra Fan character who's another, petite alien.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Along with her daughter, Ariel Shiu, apparently they both have appeared as Jawas across multiple Star Wars TV shows.
Oh, that's really fun. I love that.
So I don't know if it's just them and being digitally replicated. I don't think so, because I think I saw some behind the scenes footage of the director standing in front of a half a dozen Jawas. So there are in fact people under those robes who just get to have a great fucking time.
Amazing. So now that we've established who plays the Jawas, they're doing their thing. This being Mando and the baby, they go back to the guy from before who's their guide. Not to make you do more research, but what's the deal with his face prosthetic? Because at least when I was watching it, his mouth movements don't really sync up with his speech at all. And it's very disorienting to watch. And that's clearly on purpose, but I don't know why.
So Queel, who is the character, is voiced by Nick Nolte, and the physical performance is done by Misty Rosas. And Misty Rosas is wearing an animatronic mask. So that is a practical effect that is being controlled by ILM engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I'm sorry, by Legacy Effects engineers. So it's a combination of animatronic and puppet movements, and there are apparently 3 people responsible for making the mouth and eyebrows move while Rosas was performing the scenes, trying to match it up with the pre-recorded vocal tracks that Nick Nolte did.
Yeah, that's a tall order.
It's difficult, and so for it to not be exactly on is, I feel excusable and also very in the spirit of Star Wars.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things. I could just go, well, it's Star Wars. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that does make sense. So the guide helps him to negotiate with the Jawas. Mando you can tell he's seething. He hates the indignity of this whole exchange because they stole his shit and now he has to negotiate to trade back for it. The Jawas demand the egg, and so he goes to the Mudhorn cave to get it, and he's just getting beat to shit in a way that really reminds me of Elliot Leverage for those Leverage fans in the audience. Just this cool badass who in any other series would just be untouchable. The hits never land on him. He's dodging. He's doing Matrix bullet moves. No, he's just getting pummeled within an inch of his life constantly. And that fight goes poorly. But the baby stops the giant monster with the force, and he's trying so hard, and it's so heavy, and his little hand is shaking because he's trying so hard, and then he's so tired that he has to go to sleep. He did such a good job. And Mando gets the egg and comes back just as the Jawas are about to leave, and of course they eat it. And then, he
The
gets
sharpest goddamn knife, the one that they use to slice off the top, because the Jawa leader comes up with the egg and then just takes out a knife, swings once, and it's just a clean cut through this egg.
You put all of his skill points into egg cutting.
That's the Jawa equivalent of champagne sabrage.
Yeah. And then it's like Winnie the Pooh with honey. They're just like splooshing egg stuff everywhere. It's extremely fun. Then there's a cute little teamwork montage of building the ship, which also, Mando and this random blurg herder must be extremely competent engineers to fully rebuild this ship. That's another thing that I'll have to write off as, it's just Star Wars. That's some serious construction they're doing. They make it happen.
Also, though, they did, there's a throwaway line, not really a throwaway line, but a throwaway line in the first episode where the blue fish dude goes, oh, like a Razor Crest pre-Empire, right? So this is a fucking beat up old Hummer. Like this is some fucking VW van that, because it's 30 fucking years old, or more, you're not going to find parts. So he probably does all of his own mechanic work.
That makes sense. And now my brain is just, Mando drives an Astro van.
If any of you are not familiar with Mountjoy's Astrovan song about Jesus driving an Astrovan, there is also a Christmas parody called Santa Drives an Astrovan that is just delightful.
Love my doobie smoking Santa.
Puts my name upon his nice list. So yeah, Mando also definitely drives an Astrovan.
Very good. And once it's all repaired, he invites the other guy to join him, but he refuses. And he's like, you brought peace to my valley, which is very nice. And then my last note for the episode is the blurg, which is this creature that I have referenced as sort of the, I don't know, pack animal that seems to be everywhere in this area. Looks like it should be in the marginalia of a medieval manuscript. It's this kind of tadpole fish.
I was going to say tadpole.
Monster. I sent a screenshot of it to you and just said, pony, close parentheses. And that honestly is really fucking Western too, because I had former horse girl Miles watching this scene with me as Mando's trying to ride the blurg and tame it and commune with it, and he has to be brave and also show respect to the mighty beast. And I was asking them, is this just the same as every horse movie? Because this seems very generic horse movie. You must bond with the wild stallion, except this one is a girl blurg, so yay, girl boss.
The males are all eaten during the mating season.
But I fucking love the blurg. It's so wonderful. It's so stupid, and they're riding it across the majestic desert, and it's doing what in any other movie would be an amazing leap across a chasm, and you would see the majestic strength of the animal, but because they have these stumpy little legs, they're just kind of hopping over small gaps in the rock, but it's still shot from below and scored as if it is this amazing thing. It's so
This
good.
is a Western. This is the vibes of a Western.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Mando, has to tame the horse that no one else can ride, and then, go into the bandit camp, and then come back and finds his camp destroyed. Like, this is a Western. It's also a linear ass video game.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching this whole thing thinking these are such strong video game vibes. Mm-hmm. The find the egg is a fetch quest.
Yeah.
That is the most generic goddamn fetch quest You know, that's the fetch quest. You're like, all right, fuck, another fetch quest to get the MacGuffin, to go get the other MacGuffin, to get the other MacGuffin.
That's the fetch quest that literally there is that quest in Baldur's Gate 3, but that's in the third act. And at that point, you're so fucking done and you're just trying to get things done. And I'm like, I'm not going to steal this Githyanki egg. Also, like, there's a baby in there. I'm not giving you this Githyanki baby, you weird lady. Go away. But yeah, get the egg. That's
still Act 1, bestie.
That's still Act 1? Jesus.
That's still Act 1.
I've done like 5 playthroughs of this game, so that's embarrassing for me, but yeah, whatever. It's
in the second zone, but it's Act 1.
Damn. I really thought that was later on, but oh well. Episode 3.
Other piece that I had. The Mudhorn is just a fucking big ass woolly rhino. I had a piece about when Mando goes to find the Mudhorn, said, we find the desert's unwashed asshole, in which lives something.
I also said it looked like a butthole, and Miles, who was watching this with me, said, and for the listeners at home, Miles is a veterinary technician. This is how I feel when I go to express anal glands. bravely approaching the butthole.
Oh, my face is so red. His armor is so fucking wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
And then he eventually kills it with this tiny little fucking knife. And like, I get it's a combat knife, and you'll notice it's vibrating because it's that's a thing in Star Wars. It's vibroblades.
Oh, I thought he was just nervous.
No, it's vibroblades. It's the blades themselves buzz like the world's absolute worst vibrator.
You made the joke for me.
You're welcome. I don't want to stick that anywhere. Thanks.
If you're into knife play, I guess, but even then, you want to have a real steady grip on that thing. I need to stop visualizing this.
That takes knife play a step too far, thanks.
Put it in the strap harness, and then it's just...
No! But, like, that thing is maybe 6 inches long if it's, you know, if you're being really, really generous about what's 6 inches. You know, that's maybe 6 inches long if you trust the dudes on Tinder.
That seems like such a modest lie. That's like, if you're gonna lie, you're gonna go for 6. Anyway, I'm not on the app, so I wouldn't know. It's a very small knife. It does not seem like it would actually get to anything vital and killable in the animal.
Right. In a giant fucking woolly rhinoceros.
Yeah.
So I was, you know, but granted, this is a giant woolly rhinoceros that's oviparous, meaning it lays eggs.
Mm.
So if you were to stab an earth rhinoceros with a knife like that, unless you hit like an artery or its brain, it's probably just going to be fucking pissed with you more than anything else. But we also don't know the internal workings of this creature. And so we are forced to assume that something vital was in fact hit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the egg was furry.
Yeah, seems logistically difficult to lay. Eggs are typically quite smooth.
I mean, it's possible it grew fur after laying. Maybe. Or like it adheres, you know, the mother plucks out fur or something and it like adheres to the egg with like some sort of biological cement, I guess. Like, which leads me to wonder, is this a cold desert? Because this is clearly some sort of desert environment, but also this is a mud hole. So like, is this the only oasis around? What's the deal? I was having a biologist moment about it. And the trouble with having biologist moments in Star Wars is Star Wars doesn't give a flying fuck about biology. So those are my thoughts with that. And I think we can move on to episode 3.
All right. Episode 3, The Sin. Very ominous. Mando is very clearly having second thoughts about turning the baby in, communicated as most of his feelings are through long silences. You can tell from the silence that these are thoughtful silences. We land back on our original planet, area of the same planet. I guess it's a different planet because we see him going through space.
It's a different planet. And one of the things you will learn about Star Wars is every planet has only one biome.
Just like in real life.
Exactly. Every planet is a single biome planet and has like a single goddamn location. Maybe it has 2 or 3 if you're lucky.
So we're back on the planet. The baby seems very afraid. And another good contrast, we have no face Mando versus all face baby. He's expressing so much with his little tiny face, and it's very fun. And I have so many questions about how much does the baby understand? Who has been taking care of him for the last 50 years? Does he have any control over his little pod? He's not strapped into it. He can clearly get out. Mando has a little remote control on his arm that we see during the Mudhorn fight. So I don't know. But Werner Herzog is excited to see him. Apparently, every other bounty hunter was also trying to get this fucking baby. But Mando's the one who did it. There is a absolutely incomprehensibly huge reward. We've established that even 1 bar of Beskar is almost incomprehensibly valuable. So this huge stack of it is a lot. And
it seems it's in a camtono, which was not a phrase I believe that Star Wars fans were heretofore familiar with. Is that the proper use of the word? Doesn't matter. Heretofore. Familiar with. Anyway, it looks like the most impractical way to carry shit, which means, of course, it is a tiny piece of something from Star Wars history. That is an ice cream machine.
Aww.
That is an ice cream machine that in the background of one scene in Empire Strikes Back, a dude is running with one of those. And the backstory,
it looks like a cooler. Yeah.
Yeah, because everything has a backstory in Star Wars. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
It became like that holds a bunch of like data valuable to the rebels, and this dude was, carrying it out of harm's way. Werner Herzog gives some sort of speech about like, oh, it's good, Beskar belongs back with the Mandalorians, I'm glad I could get it back to you, sort of thing. And then goes, these days, finding a Mandalorian is more difficult than finding the steel. And I was like, oh, that's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
That is both a threat and a flex, and also a, you did good, fuck you. Yeah. All in one.
Truly skillful.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Mando's clearly having some reservations about taking the payment, he does take it and bring it back to who I am going to respectfully call Armor Mommy.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think that's fair. And, a bunch of others come to watch this whole big thing, which is very exciting. There's just a fucking ton of exposition from another Mandalorian. The Great Purge is the reason they're hidden. Only one of them can come above ground at a time. That's what we call foreshadowing. They don't like that he's dealing with the Empire. We hear about the Way. Don't really know what's going on with the Way, but they can't remove their helmets. And we get a flashback, and I think I know why he hates droids now, which is that during this big explosion situation where his parents put him in some kind of box to protect him before they obviously get killed, that he's in the box and there's chaos happening outside, and someone opens the box and it's a big scary droid who's come to kill him. So he has some childhood droid trauma.
That is a super battle droid, and we will encounter more of them.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this whole, the way of the Mandalore piece, and the way the armorer speaks, where she's clearly reciting, like, these are clearly like fucking Bible quotes she's pulling, our secrecy is our survival is our strength. And then, this is the way, and everybody stops everything to go, this is the way. Like, this is a cult. For any of the rest of us that have seen Mandalorians before, this is, again, something happened to them. Because these are not the Mandalorians we know.
Ominous.
Uh-huh.
I have no frame of reference for what they're supposed to be like. So I'm like, oh, this is just their religion. And earlier, back when we're dealing with the Jawas, and Mando doesn't want to do that, and he feels like it's undignified, the guide tells him to put his weapons down. He says, I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are part of my religion, which is very interesting. But I don't know what's normal, so maybe we'll find out. I forget if we find out.
Mandalorians are fucking cool, but there's a whole history through both legends and canon that spans back thousands and thousands of years, and they are longtime enemies of the Jedi, and then allies of the Jedi, and then enemies of the Jedi again, and it's a whole thing. During one of the flashbacks, there was a droid gunship flyover, which I think was the first time we've ever seen one of those in live action, which was very interesting. The other piece that I noticed was both baby Mando and his parents and everybody else running around were all dressed in red. Like all completely head to toe in red. Yeah. I was like, again, is this cultural? Is this religious? What's the significance? And then I had to go, it's Star Wars. This is just what they do. Mm-hmm. You know, there are groups we'll encounter in Star Wars where it's just like, everybody's in yellow now. Okay, cool.
There was a really good deal on yellow fabric. And so now everyone's got yellow outfits.
Fucking basically. And again, with this is a video game, like this is the end of a quest line because Mando levels up.
Hell yeah, he does. And then he gets to roll back into the cantina looking hot in the new armor, which is the same basically, but it's shiny now and we still can't see his face or really any exposed skin, but it's still hot. For those with eyes to see, you can understand. It's the way he carries himself. And also like in all the low light, now it's like super shiny and it's got this kind of like slick look to it. It's really good. It's really
The helmet stays on during sex.
Listen, it can. Now the question is, how horny do I want to be on the podcast? I will say,
yes, Steve.
I think we've already crossed that line. I was thinking while he was walking in, I'm like, is there a way? Can he eat pussy with the helmet on? Is there a way to make that work? Can you like open a little like mouth flap?
Listen, there's got to be some sort of
maybe an attachment.
Vibrate setting on those gauntlets.
Oh my god, your mind. Anyway, listen, for those with eyes to see, we know.
I'm sure there's AO3 fanfic about it.
Listen, that would not be the weirdest thing I've looked up for this show. But we're on
Watcher in the Water fanfic.
It's there. It exists. Anyway, he's in the bar. He's turning heads, but not because he's so hot, because everyone else is mad that he got all the money. And I do know, because of what's revealed later in this episode, that at least his manager guy has some Beskar on him. But I'm wondering if the client, and I may just be overthinking things because it's Star Wars, I don't know, if he wanted Mando specifically to do this job because the Beskar has special significance to him, or if it's just that objectively valuable, or if he offered different rewards to different people based on what they would value. I don't know how much scheming went into this. I don't know. But anyway, everyone else is mad they didn't get the money. Mando wants a new job ASAP, clearly running from his guilt. He accepts a job, but then can't even bring himself to take off in the ship. And so he goes back to find the baby. He finds the stroller pod in a dumpster. And then immediately the next shot is him having activated sniper mode. You know, we don't even know that any harm has come to the child, but he sees the stroller in the dumpster and it's just over. The Empire guys need to extract the material from the baby. I don't know what it is that they want to extract from him, but it would kill him, and that's bad.
Yet none of the rest of us do either.
Yeah. There's, Mando busts in, there's fighting, there's lots of really, really satisfying pew 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 laser sounds and little red laser lights, which are great. And then we escalate to a giant flamethrower for some reason, which is really fun.
I would like to, speaking of the flamethrower, I would like to pose a question that we will return to time and time again. Because Mando uses the flamethrower on a stormtrooper and kills the stormtrooper with that. Mm-hmm. I would like to raise a question here. What does stormtrooper armor actually fucking do? And again, we're trying to apply logic to Star Wars, which is a kind of a fool's errand. But we will see multiple instances of stormtrooper armor sometimes helping some things, sometimes not helping some things. Stormtrooper helmets filter out some things and provide some breathing help sometimes, and they definitely don't do that other times. And sometimes they do this, and sometimes I would like to know what the fuck stormtrooper armor does, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
And then Mando, of course, walks into the OK Corral. Like, if that is not the climactic Western gunfight scene, I don't know what the fuck is.
Yeah, and it's like ramped up because, as we know, everyone else was trying to get the baby, and there are these tracking fobs. How do they work? Don't worry about it. But everyone still has theirs. So as he's coming within range of them, everyone's little fobs are lighting up, and they're going, "Oh my god, he's here!" So everyone goes out, and there's a big circle for the shootout, and now his manager guy is leading the charge, and he says, "I'm your only hope," and that's a Star Wars, but "You're my only hope," I think, is the original thing. But that's definitely being someone's only hope. That's a Star Wars thing.
That's a fan service line right there.
Which, honestly, if I was him, that'd probably be so fucking fun to say. Like, I'm sure there's a list of things that you would dream about doing if you got to be in an official licensed Star Wars media. That's probably up there. That's pretty fun. But
that one's definitely up there. Probably just like maybe second or third to I have a bad feeling about this.
Mm-hmm. So Mando opens fire, fucking wrecks shop, kills all of his colleagues. He tries to escape on a droid scooter, and the droid refuses to listen to him because of course it does. I think that's really funny. I choose to believe that this droid knows that Mando hates droids and is trying to punish him for his prejudice. But you can still threaten droids with guns, and that works. Mm-hmm. And so he gets out, there's more flamethrowers, and then there's a shot where in the midst of all this chaos, the sound kind of dampens, the fighting gets muted while the baby gazes up at him from his little bundle that he's wrapped in, and you don't really hear the fighting except very faintly in the background, but what you do hear in the foreground is just his little tiny baby gurgles. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. And then after our hearts are all melted, the other Mandalorians come to the rescue with jetpacks, because why not? And remember that whole thing about only one of us could be above ground at a time. Now they're all there and their cover is blown and it's awesome. And Mando shoots his manager guy, and the manager's own bricks of Beskar that he has for some reason stop the blast, like a World War I soldier with a Bible in his breast pocket. And there's a little bit more at the end, but I just talked a lot. Was there anything in there that you wanted to pause on?
Mm-hmm. No, I think, in general, in episode 3, there's again a lot of little, like, fan details. The symbol on Dr. Pershing's sleeve shows up in other media. And I know it shows up in the Bad Batch. It's like the Imperial Science Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if it's derived from the Kaminoans, which would be derived from episode 2, Attack of the Clones specifically. I'm not sure if it's derived from that or not, but if it isn't, I don't know whether this was the first instance of it showing up or whether it showed up Rogue One. Bad Batch then was a reference to this. I'm not 100% sure, but I noticed the symbol and was like, I've seen that more recently. The droids, the astromech droids, the ones that kind of just beep. It's very funny when you can tell exactly what the fuck they're saying.
Oh.
Because sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just beeps. But this one very clearly, when Mando goes, drive, very clearly tells him, no fucking way. And then when Mando pulls out the gun, it very clearly goes, okay, and it goes off. I would like to know how the fuck they managed to make Baby Yoda so goddamn cute. That is a cannibalistic frog.
Yeah, objectively, on paper, it's not cute. And even in still images or the toys, it's sort of cute. He's cute in his way, I suppose. But you have to get the full experience of watching his little eyes widen and the ears twitch and the little thingies reach out. It's when he's like fully alive that the puppet acting, the puppeteering makes him cute. It shouldn't work, but it does.
It absolutely does. It shouldn't, but it does.
There was one sort of just broad thematic thing from this episode, because again, all these episodes are super tight. They're really good about setting stuff up and having there be a payoff. I can definitely see how this is an approachable entry to the series. And so I think a lot of the themes are probably going to be fairly obvious. But the fairly obvious theme from this episode that I liked a lot was that there was so much about him breaking the bounty hunter code because he's adhering to his own code. And, he has some scuffles with the other Mandalorians earlier because they're saying, oh, you're dealing with the Empire, fuck you. But then they're reminded that they're all following the same way. They all have the same belief system. The other Mandalorians clearly respect what he's trying to do. I don't know how much they know or how much they understand about the specifics, but it's enough that they're willing to risk all of their lives, blow their cover. They're going to have to relocate their secret sanctum thing just in case that wasn't clear enough. One of which I want to believe is specifically the one who was giving him shit before, who also comes up during the fight. It's kind of hard to tell because of the helmets, but I think it's the same one. Flies next to his ship in his awesome jetpack and salutes him. And then Mando mutters, I gotta get one of those, which is just delightful. He should have a jetpack. And then gives the baby the little knob from a lever in the cockpit that the baby had unscrewed before, and it had become this whole symbol of, oh, did I do the right thing? I'm just going to try to forget it. But then I see this mark that the baby has already left on my life, and now I must go and rescue him. And now I'm going to give him back this little thing that I said wasn't a toy, but it's his now. It's like when your dog isn't supposed to sit on the couch, but then they do, and it's like, oh, that's the dog's couch now. This is the baby's thing now. The baby runs this man's life, and it's wonderful, and I love it so much.
We have talked between ourselves and on this podcast in previous seasons about the fact that there is a category of man in media, and the category of man is unwilling or reluctant father figures who you can definitely call daddy. The Mandalorian was one of the characters that helped us create that concept when we were discussing that years ago. Him,
absolutely.
Geralt the Witcher. I have a list somewhere of these men.
Not to be confused with a list of cheese dilfs.
The cheese dilfs list is entirely different.
Aragorn isn't technically, but we've spiritually added him.
Yeah. And then also Joel Miller from The Last of Us, which means 2 of these 4 are played by Pedro Pascal.
Maybe we're just attracted to Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why. Man is hot as hell with a voice to match.
I remember seeing stuff around this time on the internet where he was just kind of confused about why all these 20-somethings were lusting after him. And I have to imagine that's a little uncomfortable because, it is still a man. That's a human being who has to see all the comments people make about him. But it is also very true and very funny. It's like, listen, man, you're hot. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal, I know that we're all fucking aware of Pedro Pascal's history because he's iconic. He's been in such movies and TV shows as Kingsman: The Golden Circle, The Adjustment Bureau, Wonder Woman 1984, The Fantastic Four: First Steps. He was in Game of Thrones as Oberyn Martell, The Mandalorian, Narcos, and most recently, The Last of Us with Bella Ramsey. He also has been in a number of theatrical productions. He's done a number of Shakespeare plays. He's been in Hamlet. He's been in Hamlet a couple of times as Horatio.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in Macbeth. He's been Much Ado About Nothing. He has been in a Broadway production of King Lear.
Damn.
He also voiced a character in Dishonored 2. So he gets around. He's also super pro-trans. His sister is trans. And so he's super outspoken in support of the trans community, which we fucking love, because there's
Hell
another
yeah.
star on this show who we'll be talking about next episode who is not. Yeah, unfortunately,
Oh, is
she's
it the
hot.
lady?
Gina Carano. Yeah, she's an asshole.
I remember hearing about that. Mm.
She's hot, but she's an asshole.
Mm.
Yeah, so, but the thing is, we haven't seen Pedro Pascal's face. We won't see Pedro Pascal's face until the very end of this season.
We don't need to.
We don't need to. He barely says anything. He doesn't talk. We don't see his face. It is just a chrome fucking mask. And still, somehow, this is the hottest goddamn thing I have seen in weeks.
I mean, it's undeniable. If anyone is unsure, go watch. There's got to be fan cams. There's got to be compilations. Just go watch it. You'll see. You'll understand.
Absolutely.
And now that we've had that call to action.
Yeah.
At the end, so that way people feel engaged and, you know, they do something and they come back. And that's our call to action, is go watch videos of Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian.
Well, we're going to be watching the rest of season 1 of The Mandalorian in the next couple of episodes. Next few episodes, we're going to discuss the next 3 episodes of this next time. And then the last 2 episodes of the season, the time after that. We will be discussing, you know, scattered throughout, various things about the production of The Mandalorian, where this all fits into the overall Star Wars story, some of the casting decisions, some of the visual decisions. We're going to talk about the music at some point, because I want to talk about Ludwig Göransson and his compositional tactics, because the music for this show is fucking choice. It's not chronologically in terms of release, this is not the first time that we've had another composer besides John Williams. Michael Giacchino did the score for Rogue One, and John Powell did the score for Solo, and Kevin Kiner did the scores for Clone Wars and Rebels. So we've had other composers work in the Star Wars sphere before, but and don't get me wrong, all of those composers have done an excellent job. But we'll get more into this. I really do feel like Ludwig Göransson hit the nail on the head, building off of John Williams' legacy to create a both wholly unique and also wholly Star Wars score. But we'll get more into that. If you would like to listen to that, if you'd like to hear that discussion, you can subscribe to our podcast. We'll get into that in the next couple of episodes. You can subscribe wherever you're currently listening, or wherever else you prefer to get your podcasts. If we're not on your preferred podcast platform, please let us know. We will do our best to get onto your preferred podcast platform. I need to do more vocal warm-ups before we get started, apparently, even though now we're 2 hours in.
So you could pop your plosives on your preferred podcast platform. Anyone who does a really good Tim Curry impression, have him say preferred podcast platform. We're getting off track. Just saying stuff.
Someone get Brendan Lee Mulligan on that pronto. Preferred podcast platform pronto. If you would like to be a part of this discussion, you can always interact with us on our social media. We are at FanAppPod on any of our social media. That is at FANAPPPOD. We are most active on Tumblr. I'm occasionally active on Instagram and less occasionally on Blue Sky, and I might open the other ones occasionally. I actually don't really know what all of our social media are. I find them when I find them. I'm the social media manager, so you are talking to me when you are on there, so, you know, be kind, please. You can also always send us an email at thefandomapprentice@gmail.com. That is the best way to get in contact with us. if you would like a reliable and quick response. If you like what you've been listening to, please leave us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you've been listening to, there's a back button. Like, don't worry about it. If you don't like what you've been listening to, why are you still here? This was a long episode.
Completionist.
Congratulations. Grab yourself a knife vibrator on the way out. Leave us a 5-star review, leave us a comment, leave us a written review if the podcast platform you're on allows those sorts of things. We love to hear from listeners. But mostly the best thing you can do to keep us on the air and keep us growing, spreading whatever the fuck this is to more ears is to tell your friends about the podcast, to share us with them. We are here in our 3rd season, still a small podcast, and word of mouth is still the best way for us to spread. So if you like what you're hearing, we can't wait to see you next time. If you aren't a big Star Wars fan, don't worry. We've got a lot of backlog, and we will be talking about things that are not Star Wars in the future. So stick around, go back, listen to our backlog. There's a lot of Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of Murderbot. There's some stuff on Beowulf. It's a good time. But we can't wait to see you in 2 weeks for See You. You will hear our dulcet tones again in 2 weeks with more discussion on The Mandalorian. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
The Phantom Apprentice is produced and edited by Rin and Sam. Our music is composed and performed by James. You can find more of his work on Spotify and Bandcamp under Beiruz, Baeruz. Our art is by Casey Turgeon. You can find more of her work at KCT Designs on Instagram. The content discussed is the property of the original copyright holders and is used here under fair use. When the fuck did I get pecs that I could move around?
Are you just flexing right now?
Like, I moved and I was like, wait a goddamn second. It's not supposed to do that.
Where'd you come from?
The fuck happened? Rocks. Rocks happened.
Local queer surprised by own boobs.
You know, I am not infrequently surprised by my own tits.
Should embroider that on a pillow. That's a good one. I'm so behind on my weirdly sexual pillow embroideries. Gotta catch up on that.